You always running recognizance on some bullshit whenever the supervisors peek their head out and say, hey, Nay, you got a minute? No. No, sir, no. I don't have it today.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down. Hold it down. Give it a big call. One time nobody stop in the front. Big guns in the building. Street got Dennis.
They talked about the new music they were working on and plans for the group. The interview was good and pretty standard. That is, until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Bugsy says to Q-Tip on the air, you know that girl Angie in the back? I think she has a crush on you. Oh my God. What? Why would he do that? Come on, Bugs. I knew he meant no harm and was just trying to be funny on the radio, but I was absolutely mortified. First of all, it was embarrassing. I wanted to crawl under a desk somewhere and die. And I most certainly did not want to go anywhere near the studio. Then I heard Tip in his very Tip voice say on air, wait, who is that? The girl with the long brown hair, right? Now I would have to hide every time Q-Tip came to the station. The moment the interview ended and I was certain that the group was long out of the building, I ran into the studio and begged Bugsy to never, ever, ever do that again. He laughed and agreed, and that was that, at least for the moment, as far as Tip and Tribe were concerned. After 4 or 5 years at Hot 97, I was happy being behind the scenes and running the boards. Every now and then, I'd get to talk to Flex on the air, and a few times they even let me do a whole shift. Sundays at 4 a.m., or if they had a scheduling emergency here and there at the other times. Terrible little time slots, but I was happy whenever they'd let me be on the air. I still worked in the office as well, doing whatever anyone needed done. And that's where I was, in the office one evening around 6 p.m. after business hours were over, and most of the staff had gone home when it happened. That is, when Steve Smith stuck his head out of his office and gestured for me to come see him. Ooh, I don't like them. Ooh, when the supervisors be like this, Nay, you got a minute? You be want to say, hell no, I ain't got no minute. I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. There's an emergency at home, because shit like that, man, treachery afoot. You always running recognizance on some bullshit whenever the supervisors peek their head out and say, hey, Nay, you got a minute? No. No, sir, no. I don't have it today to offer you the overnight slot. Shock, confusion, disbelief. My own shift. I almost passed out dead on the floor right then. This was just unbelievable. All I could say was yes. Then, catching my breath, I had to ask, can I still work for Flex? Judy and Steve looked at each other and then at me. Yes, they said in unison. You sure can. Meaning, bitch, if you want to work overtime for the same pay of no time, then go for it. My schedule was to first run Flex's boards from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then do my own show from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day. In hindsight, I realized how insane that was, because Flex would leave at 2 a.m. and it was just me there. Every now and then, Salam would stay late to keep me company, but for the most part, overnights were just me alone in the dark. Empty station in the dark. Empty building on 38th Street in the Garment District, where even the neighborhood was dark and empty. To keep myself from getting too creeped out, I would stay busy by talking to my listeners all night on the request line. On one of those early mornings in the middle of my show, I got a call on the station's hotline. At 4:30 a.m., the hotline ringing meant it was at least someone I knew. Someone else was actually awake and calling. So I answered, hello. Hey, is this Angie? The voice sounded familiar, but I couldn't really place it. Yeah, who's this? It's Tip. Who? It's me, Q-Tip. Is this Angie? Flashing back to what Bugsy had done on the air when Tip was at the station last, I was mortified all over again. In an effort to play it cool, all I could think to say was, yeah, who you calling for? Maybe I had overshot. Tip only laughed. I'm calling for you. Who the hell else is up there at this time of night? Tip told me that Tribe was doing all these promo shows and he was always up late, so he would often catch me on the air on his way home. From there, our conversation was effortless. I can't really explain how this happened, but there are certain people I've met in my life that from the moment when we first met, I immediately feel connected to them. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I pay attention. The connection doesn't have to be a romantic one. A Tribe Called Quest was touring at the time in the wake of their Midnight Marauders album, which had included the single Oh My God That I Love. While the tour was ongoing in those times after the show or the after party, I'd often get an in-studio call in the middle of the night. That's what would happen when I was dating that NBA player. Child, after a game, he would always hit me in the locker room, always, or in the car on the way home. He would always do that. Even after he lost. It was cool. Tip and I began to talk pretty regularly about music, family, TV shows, just regular shiz. What was weird was that as much as I had been a fan for years, our conversations felt comfortable. I liked him, but I tried not to make too much of the attention. Like, oh, he only calls because he knows I'm sitting in the studio till 6 a.m. He's probably just bored and no one else is up. What? That's Q-Tip, girl. That man can call any bitch, any time of day. What, girl? What? Are you crazy? That's Q-Tip, girl. You tripping, Ange. But I was wrong. In fact, when Tip eventually came back to town, we went on our first date. He picked me up from work. I was in sneakers and sweats and didn't even mind because he made me feel comfortable just being me. We ate Chinese and then shopped for vinyl at a downtown record store. Ooh, that's sweet. I like that. He put me on to a lot of new music. When I got home, I had to ask myself, was this even a date? It wasn't exactly romantic, but we did have fun. Hot 97 was redefining its mission and transitioning from dance to a 24-hour hip-hop station. And they needed someone who fully represented the culture. I was on overnight for just about a year when they started trying me in different time slots. I did some weekend shifts and even did a midday slot for a month or so. And then when the opportunity opened up, holy shit, I got it. I was the new nighttime jock. That's when I felt the difference. The 6 to 10 p.m. slot was prime time. This was a big deal. Everyone was so happy for me and offered to help in any way. The only downside was I would no longer be able to work with Flex because, as Steve explained, I need to give my full attention to this new opportunity, and that I did. My show became the place for anyone in hip-hop to stop by and chill and talk shit. Black Moon, Queen Latifah, Redman, Puffy with a young Mary J. Blige, Craig Mack, Keith Murray. If you were a rapper and you had a song out, you stopped by the show. Just like the Breakfast Club. For hip-hop fans, it was the first time you could hear your favorite artist on the radio and learn about them and hear what they sounded like as themselves in conversation. There were really no mainstream outlets for that. The artists liked hanging out here, and we encouraged it. Artists like Biggie would come up all the time, maybe bring up some food, chill out, smoke Newports, and then we'd go to the club after the interview. This was not uncommon. After a period, Q-Tip and I had gotten pretty close, but it didn't really seem to be going anywhere. Neither one of us had the time. My schedule was definitely keeping me busy. Hold on, pause. Don't forget, Angie, that your man Q-Tip was the one who muzzled T.I. Tip, that's my name, Tip. Yeah, it's a Q in front of it, but people call me Tip. So you better change it to something else. And Q-Tip was like, okay, I'll change it to T.I. You better, because that goddamn Q-Tip is an Aries. And them ninjas be ready to fight, okay? And Q-Tip is a Libra. We love us. We not fighters. We don't want to do that. At a time when the New York club scene was popping like never before. As just a fan, it was crazy. You go up in the club and see all your favorite artists live and in person. When you went to the Tunnel on a Sunday, you would see Busta Rhymes, Redman, Wu-Tang, everybody. And then the next day, I'd get on the radio and talk about where I'd been and who'd been seen at the club that night before. My career was on the rise. The station was killing it. And not long after Tip and I slowed down, I started dating Gerard. I was brown-skinned, heavily into hip-hop, clothes, and was always up on the new trends, which probably went along with his job in marketing at Loud Records. Between work and staying over a lot at G's apartment on East 21st Street in Manhattan, I barely ever had time to go home to my shizzy apartment in Astoria, which, unbeknownst to me, had become infested with mice. Girl, she got the hell out of there. I can't take all these mice. Anyway, she at her 26th birthday party. G was there and wasn't all the way thrilled when Jay-Z and Dame Dash gave me another bottle of Cristal, which we popped open right there on the side of the stage. I tried to include him in the moment, but by the look on his face, I could tell he was uncomfortable. This was a tension that I would become all too familiar with in this relationship and ones to come. But otherwise, the night was spectacular. Girl, it's your birthday. You ain't got time to be babysitting nobody's ego, girl. It was overwhelming. My life was changing. That night was a definite turning point. I left feeling that my show was starting to really matter. It was winter 1996 and the whole city was upside down. Tupac and Biggie had been going at it, and Pac was always in the news at the center of what people were now starting to call an East Coast, West Coast beef. In December, my friend and co-worker Moni Love, a pioneer for women in hip-hop, made a cameo in the Dog Pound video, New York, New York. Why would she do that?